where I live.
Oh, mate, there's nothing better.
Yeah,
It's probably my favourite title of all time. Hi there, and welcome to this edition of Considering Comic Books. This time, we're going to be talking to a friend of mine. He is an incredibly talented bloke. He is an artist for 2000 AD. You may be aware of him. He is called Stephen Austin. He has a really beautiful style. I have to say it sort of reminds me of a lot of the stuff that I grew up looking at in the 1980s in 2000 AD. And it really lends itself to sort of a really nice horror feel. That's what I get from it anyway. But his name is Stephen Austin. He's working for 2000 AD. He's got some beautiful commission pieces out there at the minute, especially some dread ones for our pal John Burtis over at the Everything Comes Back to 2000 AD podcast. Quick pimp out to those guys. Stephen, it's absolutely brilliant to have you here, mate, finally. How are you doing?
Finally. Yeah, very well. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure, mate.
Finally.
I know, it took a bit of doing because this is our third attempt to actually get the, initially we tried Facebook Messenger, then we tried the phone call, and now we're on Skype. So it took a couple of attempts before we actually got as far as to have a conversation where we could both hear each other. So progress.
Now a 10-second delay. And without submarine sounds.
Yeah, the 10-second delay and the submarine sounds were kind of freaky, man. I felt like I was having an episode in the house. I was like, oh god. So, Stephen. Stephen, tell me. Obviously, we're gonna have to just ask straight off the bat. What got you into John? Well, what was it that no pun intended, drew your interest whenever you were a kid?
As a kid, I don't know. I mean, I've always drawn. I've always drawn. This is one of those things, I grew up drawing. I'd sit and my dad and my brother would be sitting watching football, which I fucking hate, and I'd be sitting scribbling, and I'd just draw and draw and draw. My mum used to bring home reams of. She used to work in a library years ago, and this is in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Probably before that, in the late 70s. And she used to bring home reams and reams of this old printer paper. You remember the printer paper?
Yes,
with the
I
whole
do.
Side and the old, yeah. And I'd sit and I'd get through loads of it, mate. I'd sit and tell stories and sort of illustrate them as I was going. And it'd just be papers of scribbles, but I'd be sitting there making sound effects and playing back figures, but doing it in lines and drawing. And that's my earliest memory. I used to have shitloads of paper with scribbles on.
Mate, yes, this really resonates with me. Yeah, keep going.
Say it again, mate.
I was just saying this really resonates with me. It reminds me of my own childhood in a way. No, keep going. I'm loving it.
I think I got introduced into comics in the 80s. So I was born in 72, so I'm a late starter really. And then progressed from there. So the 80s was spent reading comics and drawing. The 90s, not so much. And then I sort of got back into it again, probably mid noughties.
Yeah. What was it about the 90s? I think I can put two and two together. What was it about the 90s that caused you to lapse slightly on the artwork?
The rave scene.
Oh, the rave scene. I thought you were going to say Parenthood, but it was actually raving.
No, it was basically what happened was I lapsed because I left school. I hit 16 in '87. That's when I was leaving school, and when I was about, my whole intention was to carry on with the art, and I wanted to be a comic artist at that time. But it was just, at the time, it was being forced fed by the art teachers. You've got to do graphic design, you've got to go to college to do this, do that. And I had no interest in it whatsoever. And around that time, I started to get into training and fitness as well. And so I sort of, my enthusiasm for art started to wane, for comics art started to wane, not enthusiasm for comic art, but enthusiasm to do it, because I was getting put off by the art teachers telling me you can't do comic art, and I had no idea how to get into comic art at the time, so I was relying upon them for the information. And they were telling me I had to go do graphic design at college, etc., and at that sort of time I was getting into fitness and training, and so I was becoming more enthused with that. And so my 90s was spent. I decided, you know what, fuck it. I'm not going to do the art anymore. I'm going to get into this. And so I qualified as a fitness instructor and a personal trainer. Then it progressed from so the 90s was spent doing that basically. And I still doodled here and there, but as far as a career was concerned, it took a totally different route. And it was only later on, which we'll get into later, I guess, that I sort of got off of that, and then sort of decided that actually I need to. It goes back to what you were saying before in previous interviews, that yearning, that need, but that didn't really hit me until later on. And I sort of realised time's running out. But now, I'm never going to fucking do it. That was it. So that was the impetus. So it was, I'm just so sick of what I was doing. I had kids, and it was like, with Lucas especially, my eldest child, I was sort of thinking, I want to be able to tell him in 10 years' time, you can do what you want to do, be what you want to be. And I was just thinking, if I try and tell him that I'm doing what I'm doing, he's going to look at me and say, Dad, you hate what you're doing, what are you talking about? So that was part of the impetus to sort of make a change.
It's funny listening to you, Stephen, the amount of people, sort of creative people who I know, myself included, who have very similar trajectories. I guess, for me, you actually said you qualified as a fitness instructor and a PT. So did I, right? I mean, really. And this was this was whenever I was dipping my toe back into the writing. So to hear you say that, I was like, oh my God, have we lived like,
So because both fields, I mean, you've got to be obsessive. I mean, I was in training as well, I was in bodybuilding, and that's obsessive in itself. And I think you need to be, with the art, you need to be obsessive. You need to do it every day. You need to be there every day and progressing it. The same training, you got to do it every day. And it's just, for me anyway, there wasn't room to be obsessive about two things to the degree that you need to be obsessive. So for me, it was either the art I'd be obsessive with, or the training I'd be obsessive with. And at that time, it was training. And then sort of it progressed, and it became not about training anymore. Then it became about career, and then it went into management, and it went into, and that's sort of where I got to the point where it's like, this isn't me, I don't give a shit. I don't, I'm not feeling it. And then it wasn't about training anymore, and I didn't have that excitement and enthusiasm I had for the exercise and fitness and so on and so forth. So it kind of went full circle.
So that, I mean, it's really interesting to hear you say all this, because, as I say it's a similar trajectory to my own. Right down to, you said something at the very start about your art teacher had put you off doing art. Ryan Brown, who I was talking to a week or two ago, he had exactly the same experience in art college. He had, art teachers who had a postmodernist idea of what art should be, and they really did a great job of sort of denigrating his work and telling him that what he was doing didn't have any merit, which is crazy. So it was the same. I actually did art up to A level, and my art teacher, she suffered, I found out after the fact, but she suffered from postnatal depression and told me that if I didn't play by her rules in terms of what she wanted to see me draw or paint, she was going to fail me. So I actually left art.
Really?
I left art and I never came back. But that was, specifically because of that experience, it drove me away because I thought this is who dominates the art field and this is who decides.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I've spoken to a lot of creatives and they all have that similar experience with authority in some way or another, and they all end up saying, well, fuck you, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's an agenda to some degree, isn't it? Well, not an agenda. That's probably the wrong word, but they're art teachers and they're fine art teachers and they're all fine artists. None of them are comic artists. They're all fine artists.
True.
And they've obviously got to follow a curriculum, and I suppose they're limited to what advice they can give because of what they do. They're not comic artists; they're fine art teachers.
Yeah.
They're always the teacher school were always enthusiastic about. I mean, I was always quite good at art. I was always top of the class in art. So they were always enthusiastic about my art. And encouraged me with the art, but it was just really that point was like, I want to do this, and as you know, at that time, this just wasn't taken seriously. You didn't have courses in comic art, or I think you had a course in illustration, but as I say, they were trying to push me into graphic design, and my idea of graphic design at the time was just miles away from what I wanted to be doing. So it just entirely put me off. Whereas now, you probably would have, I don't know, older than two, but I mean, you probably would have teachers that would be able to direct students into that direction. Well, the way you need to do that is to submit to, publishers, etc. But I didn't have a clue about that.
Well, I mean, we lived in pre-internet times,
absolutely,
So whereas
graphic design was about cutting out, whatever it was before Photoshop and Illustrator. I mean, I am sure it would have been quite an affluent thing to do at the time. I mean, if that was my main motivator, but it wasn't. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. But actually, at that time, to get into graphic design, actually probably would have been quite a good move because it would have been the advent of the the computer age. People moving over graphic design to best at the time into computers, etc.
It's funny because it's only sort of after the fact that you realize a lot of things,
I still wouldn't want to fucking do it.
I mean, I used to dabble with computers back in the day, and I remember thinking, oh, this is a bit of fun. But retrospectively, I'm thinking, fuck, I could have made a lot of money had I stuck at that. But it's one of those things, man.
Yeah, I got a couple of friends from school that went into IT, and they're minted now.
They get, this is the thing about working in the creative arts. I think a lot of the time it's about the passion and about, you touched upon it. I asked you just to see what you would say, but I said, how did you get into drawing? And you said you'd always drawn. And that's what I find about people who are artistically inclined. They've always sort of done it. It's like a biological compulsion to do it. And
absolutely.
So I mean, I think these things for people who decide to follow their specific passions, it is about a biological compulsion to do it, because a lot of the time it makes you fuck all money, and it's just about creating something that makes you. It's nourishment for the soul.
It's the practice of it. I mean, that's the thing. It's not about the money is a byproduct to some degree. Of course, you've got to make money. And of course, making money doing what you love is the bonus. But regardless, as I said before, even in the 90s when I wasn't actually pursuing an art and I was working fitness, to draw, I didn't stop drawing at all. I would still draw. I'd go out partying and we'd come back. Me and friends would come back to the house and we'd all be slightly inebriated in whatever way. And I'd sit and draw. They'd say, I'll draw this, draw that, draw this, draw that. And I'd sit and draw, and that would be my outlet. And other days I'd just sit and doodle. And it was just, it's a compulsion. It's not something you do necessarily to pursue a career. It's something that's in you, as you say, biological.
Yeah, it's like the blueprint.
That's why I can't. Yeah, exactly. I can't put my finger as to when I started drawing. For me, in my memory, I've always drawn. Mm-hmm. Always drawn. In fact, the earliest memory I have of drawing was actually sitting with my mum and we used to. It wasn't drawing so much; it was tracing. But you remember, you used to get the embossed Christmas cards.
Oh yeah.
Embossed, and we'd sit and we'd open the Christmas cards, and I'd trace around the embossments on the inside.
Oh yeah, okay.
I remember sitting doing that with my dad, with my mum, and I was probably 4 or 5 then. And that's my earliest memory. I'm sure I done other stuff as well, but yeah, that's my earliest memory of drawing, was tracing around these embossed shapes on the inside of Christmas and birthday cards.
And you essentially that was training for what you would
do. I guess so. Yeah. I guess so. But I'd say more training for me was literally for what I do now. In hindsight, and when I do storyboard work as well. But it's scribbling. Going through stories in your head and drawing it as you're going. It's just scribbles on paper.
Yeah.
But in your head, there's scenes going on, there's things going on, it's a story, and you're just literally making marks on paper. But from what you see, you know what you're putting down. Anyone else looks at it, it's just like a bunch of scribble.
Yeah.
It's like drawing, and so that kind of storytelling, I guess. But an instinctive storytelling, not working from the script, it's just working from what's in your head.
Yeah. Well, that's the wonderful thing about comic book collaboration, I find, and that is that. I did art once, and I have an idea of how the comic book page plays out, but it's because both the writer and the artist have this. They've got different ideas on the same thing, and so whenever a writer writes something, one of my favorite things is to get pages back and see the interesting take from an artist, what way they've decided that the story should play. And sometimes the amazing thing about it is that it's the story that you've come up with, but the way they have designed it looks so radically different, and in some ways you're like, wow, I never would have thought of that. It just looks so. I love that collaboration, because it's it's just the fusion of two imaginations, and Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to ask you whether you'd ever got a story back that you looked at the art and thought, that's not, and been disappointed by it, and felt that it wasn't.
Let me see. Yes, but I guess in the instances where that's happened, it's very easy to go, oh, that's shit or whatever. What I always try to do, and it's the same with, I'm not some sort of massive influence in comics or anything. I'm just some dude who's starting off at the bottom rung. So when I say that other people come to me and ask me for an opinion on something or some advice, it's usually people who aren't that far away from where I am, but I'm just in a slightly better position because I've done a bit of professional work. And normally what I tell them is, I'll try to be as constructively critical as I can, and I try to say, listen, would you think about changing this, or would you think about changing that, or come at that from a different angle or whatever. I always try to be constructive, because you are going to get stuff back and you're like, oh, that's absolutely nothing like what I want. And you have to.
You can't be too precious. I mean, with the art, I've been quite lucky, because it's I think the only person I've really had a back and forth with is David Bailey.
Oh yeah,
David Bailey. Pronounce it Bailey. Yeah. And him and I had a real sort of we gelled, as in sort of just the practice forward. I'd done stuff for Roy McConville, and he's it was fine, and I sent him roughs and I took it from there, and it was fine. But me and David, for whatever reason, we had more of a back and forth. I didn't change anything. He didn't ask me to change anything, but it was quite a nice collaboration, But I'm prepared, for somebody to come back to me and say, well, that's not at all how I envisioned it. It hasn't happened yet. You can't be too precious. You can't be too precious.
You can't. I mean, listen, I work with the Browns a lot, Ryan and Adam. And Ryan, whenever he wanted to do Esther, he wanted me to write it, but he wanted specific things to happen. And I've talked to him about this on numerous occasions. He wanted specific things to happen, and he wanted, a certain narrative. And because obviously, writing's my craft, he would say, and I want this to happen, and I want that to happen. And I would say, well, that's not going to work. You know, you can't just go from here to there. You know, it's not gonna work. And he and I would have massive arguments that, you know,
Really?
usually when we were out for pints. Now, very good natured, you know. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, we never ended a conversation with, well, you know, fuck you, I'm never working with you again.
Yeah.
But we
Can't forget different writer.
but we had massive arguments, and it would be the same with Adam, because they're both incredibly perfectionist about what they do. And so whenever I would say, I need this to happen on such and such a page, like maybe Adam would even come back and say, why don't you change it to this? And I would say, because it doesn't work within the flow of the story. And he would argue with me for, you know, we would have maybe about half an hour of back and forth, and I'd be like, just do it that way. And in the end, you know, there would eventually, you know, one of us would cave in. I'd go, oh, okay, then do it that way. But, you know, so you can't be too precious, because the amount of times I've sent something through to an editor and thought, oh, you know, this is my opus magnum, you know, or magnum opus,
Yeah.
and you know, oh, it's so good, and then they've said, yeah, the first bit's a bit wordy, I'm just going to cut all that, and I'm like, oh, that was the best bit. So, you know, you can't be overly precious about these things. As they say, you have to kill your darlings, don't you?
Say again?
You have to kill your darlings.
Yeah, hang on. I just got to... give me a second. I've lost you for a minute. I have my headphones on. They seem to have died on me.
Oh, okay. You just tell me when you're ready.
Okay, mate.
You good?
Yeah, no, give me a second. I'm just going to just give me 2 minutes.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, mate. Okay.
And we're back. So your Bluetooth headphones died.
Where were we? What were we saying?
We were talking about how you had to occasionally, well, not occasionally, but quite frequently, in comic books, and I'm sure in, you know, prose literature, it's even more relevant. You have to kill your darlings, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't be precious.
I mean, it's different. I've not had, because it must be difficult for a writer also, because, you know, you write something, you send it to the artist, the artist interpreting what you write, but the artist needs script there to actually do their job, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, it's I guess the hardest part for the writer is the editorial stuff. I mean, it's difficult, you know. The thing about whenever you're writing for a collaboration is that you've got to make the artist understand what you want, but also it's whenever you put the stuff through editorial and stuff that you think is particularly good or you're really, you know, impressed by, and I mean, you know, most writers, I guess, like most artists, are very self-flagellating. You know, they'll like their stuff one minute and hate it the next, and that's definitely me.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm proud of something and then the editor says, oh no, we've got to cut that out, it's it's always devastating. So, you know, the creative, you know, I mean, the creative process, for all its rewards, is also very brutal, you know, for the old creatives, because you have to see stuff that you love get cut up, but, you know, it makes you more resilient, I guess. I think it puts things into perspective, you know, with regard to what it's actually for. It's not it's not a personal piece. It's a piece. Because it's the same with the because I do other stuff, so I do storyboards as well, and I don't have so much the issue with the comic art. But you can guarantee you do. You know, I get stuff sent. With storyboards, you get sent a script, and normally get sent a shot list as well. But as you start to work with people, they tend not to send you a shot list; they just send you a script. And they trust your judgment on regards to shots, etc. But on occasion, you'll send them examples of various shots, and they'll always choose the one that you least like. Always. Right.
So my experience, always.
Okay. Huh, that's quite interesting. I wasn't aware of that. I've never actually heard of a shot list before. This is news to me. So that's quite an interesting
It's the
faucet.
same. I mean, it's the same as your comic script. You'll get some comic writers, some writers who are quite prescriptive with regards to the shot, with regards to whether it's a high close up, or a high shot, long shot, close up, whatever. But then you'll get other writers that are quite loose with regards to they'll just set the scene and they'll leave the shot entirely up to the artist. It's the same principle.
They allow you, yeah. Normally, whenever I write, I'll write, close up or overhead, something like that. So whereas I've read a lot of, before I started writing, I read a lot of John Wagner scripts, and they were notoriously sparse. Very, very Spartan writing, and he obviously, I think the majority of Wagner's stuff, he's worked with the great Carlos Esguerra, and he obviously has a level of trust with the artist. Just, if you look at the greats that he's worked with, Esguerra, Colin McNeil, Bolland, all those guys, man, it's just, I don't know. I love comic books. It's one of those great art forms, and as sort of difficult and grindy as it can be, it's one of those things. I love the whole process of it. It's very fulfilling. It's spiritual nourishment, as I said earlier. And we've been talking about something. We've been talking about was you and I were regular guys. We've got day-to-day struggles, and the outlet is really the creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. No, same. Yeah.
Absolutely. So here, what was it about 2018 in particular that drew you in as a kid? Was it one of your first comics that you started to read? Have you always wanted to work for it, or was it something that you just sort of you saw an opening and you jumped in?
I'm shit with timelines, man.
Well, you see, that's all that rave culture in the 90s, Stephen.
I'm still 90s, and the 90s just ruined it for me now. Anything before the 90s was a blur.
Yeah, totally.
Because I'm not a super fan of 2000. I always read 2000 AD.
Yeah.
I always read it from about, I think, probably 82, 83.
Yeah, good times.
My earliest memories of 2000 AD, the first issue I read that I loved, because I was always more into swords and sorcery at the time.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And so I loved Slane. Now, I remember Ballard Nelly was drawing Slane at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I remember going to school with spiky hair. I was the first kid in school with spiky hair.
Sweet.
It was Slane. So I loved Ballard Nelly's work. And then later on, I had to say again, timelines, I don't know. I remember, so vividly, 80s for me, 2008, I remember initially it was Slane I was into, with Ballard Nelly, and then Hickling turned with Nemesis, which is later on the 80s, I think.
Yes.
But I was always into the darker stuff,
Yeah.
And a lot of my style at the time was very scratchy and very dark, and before I started submitting to 2008, that's how it was. It was only feedback from Matt Smith. Mm-hmm. I think I started to tighten up my inks and just refine my style a little bit. And I spoke to Bolland as well. It's another story. It gave me a lot of feedback on stuff. And it was then that I started tightening up my inks and really sort of trying to refine my style a little bit more.
Yeah.
But initially it was really scratchy, really sketchy, really dark. And that was the appeal. There was nothing else out there. I was sort of I was reading 2080 alongside a lot of Marvel stuff. In the 80s, I was into John Byrne, the X-Men.
Yeah.
I loved Art Adams stuff. Lots of real fine art, line work. Then there was obviously Dark Knight with Miller, etc. Killing Joke with Bolland. And I think with Bolland, well, it must have been because I didn't start reading until 82, 83, 2000 AD. So I think I discovered Bolland through DC, and then backtracked into his earlier catalogs for 2000 AD. because he would have finished his run by 83.
Yep.
So yeah. But then I carried on with. I sort of lost interest in Marvel towards the end of the 80s. Carried on with 2000 AD, and then dipped in and out of it throughout the 90s. When I
Yeah. Yep. 90s. It was a hectic decade for everybody.
Yeah. Exactly. And then Dread. I always loved Dread as well. Obviously, I think Dread was sort of it was Strange, Dread, and Nemesis my three favourites in the prog.
Yeah.
Then it was literally meeting Bolland in 2000 what are we now 2018.
Yeah.
In 2012, 2013, I think it was. And that I was considering submitting 2008, but felt that I was too long in the tooth. And it was me and him actually that gave me the kick up the arse. And so hence I decided to start submitting and go for it again.
Yeah, well, isn't that amazing? What a serendipitous meeting. And it sounds to me, now correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like Brian Bolland has been a massive influence on you. And I don't want to speak out of turn, but I can definitely see little elements of that in your own artistic style.
Mate, do you know what I always say? And this is so true. My style, and I think most artists' style, is a culmination of failed attempts to draw like your favourite artist.
Yeah.
I get told so many different people. I get told, some people say Will Simpson, other people mention Bolland. It's just endless. I don't think out of 10 people that tell me my style reminds me of somebody, that it's some of the same artist, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally.
It's definitely got an influence, definitely. But then, as I say, it's a failed attempt. I went through my phase of trying to draw like him, or went through phase of trying to like Dylan.
Yeah.
I went through my phase of trying to like Hinklington. I've tried to draw like them all and failed miserably, and so hence I've got my style, which is sort of some element of each of them within there somewhere.
Well, that's the funny thing about your style. Every time I look at it, I see something new in there, and I guess because it's that interesting amalgamation of different styles, different artists who've inspired you. I mean, I definitely the two that I would have picked out straight away. You mentioned them there were Will Simpson and Brian Bolland. I mean, I can see overtures of their influence in your work, and not to blow smoke up your ass, but I really like what you do. You're doing some great work at the minute, and especially like I mentioned it at the start. I think you've got a great flavour for horror, because while Bolland is more clean lines, you drift closer into Simpson territory with that sort of nice horror stuff,
Yeah, well, ironically, Will Simpson wasn't one that I I ever emanated. He wasn't one that I ever sort of tried to emanate. Yeah, ironically.
Well, that's just me seeing it in there then.
You're not the first person to say it, which is funny.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, as I said, I guess I think later on I was into Bolland. As I said, I sort of discovered him after I discovered Hinklington and after I discovered Bellardinelli. And I always liked the fact they both do grotesque so well. And I'm always into horror with movies. I love horror.
Yeah.
And I love trying to draw stuff that's going to, I haven't really had the opportunity to do it with regards to professional work. But that's what I'm drawn to. I love drawing stuff.
Give it time.
Earlier stuff was always, my mum always used to say, well, why can't you draw something that's nice?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, the horror thing, horror fascinates me because I think horror is a primal outlet, one of the most primal outlets for human, our innate darkness. Now, this is going to sound a bit wanky and pretentious, but, just from my own interest in sort of human biology and philosophy and stuff, the fact that we're these civilized monkeys that live in these big cities, I think we've all got these sort of primitive, I know we've got these primitive, biological impulses, and we contain them in this sort of civil society. And horror films is, I think, a manifestation of our desire to see these things writ large, to remind ourselves, to sort of, to scare ourselves, to remember what it was like to be afraid of the dark, or to see something truly horrific. And we've got all these sort of, genetic memories that have been passed along. Because we live in Western society, very sedate times as well, I think that because, there's not that much day-to-day horror for us. There's not, regular atrocity. So we're kind of inoculated from a lot of the horrors that would ravage the rest of the world. So, it's become a form of entertainment for us in a way, a way to get a thrill. So, horror as as a genre fascinates me, and that's why I like it so much. It's because it delves into that dark center of humanity that we so often suppress and don't like to talk about, don't like to admit exists,
Yeah. But I find, I agree entirely. But I find that as I get older, it's more difficult. I suppose, as you sort of touched upon it, you become desensitized to it.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult for me now. I find it very difficult for me now to find a film that I find genuinely scary.
Yeah.
That genuinely puts me on edge.
Yeah.
As a kid, actually, funnily enough, it was the Universal. It was the older films that used to scare me because they're more atmospheric.
Yeah,
they weren't reliant upon effects or anything else. They had effects, very basic effects, but it was more about the atmosphere, the setting, and that used to freak me out far more than. We watched. I don't know about you, but I was watching, American Work in London. I think when I was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I think the thing I watched when I was 9 or 10, and at the time. I loved it, but I loved it for a totally different reason. It didn't really. I was sort of, in awe of the effects and everything else, but it didn't really strike me. It didn't really strike fear into me. Whereas the old Universal films, they used to run on BBC Two on a Friday night. Wasn't it? I thought it was BBC Two on a Friday night. Like the Wolfman and Creature from the Black Lagoon, etc., etc. And they really used to freak me out.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said.
As I get older, it's less out there for me. It's less out there for me because we've become desensitized. I think probably because with the access to social media and what goes on around the world, the horrors you talk about, around the rest of the world, we don't experience firsthand. You still experience to some degree, and you're access to it.
Well, yeah, that's it exactly. We're very inculcated away from real horror most of the time. That's not to say it doesn't exist. Especially in America. America has like a high frequency of gun crime, but in the UK and Ireland, we've got very, very low rates of any sort of crime like that. So seeing those the absolute horror is you've got a low percentage chance of seeing that sort of stuff. But we are, it is one of our primal brains are titillated by this. We like to be afraid. It reminds us of our sort of animalistic, roots. So whenever I watch a horror, a lot of the time, sometimes it's about wanting to be scared, and other times it's about the subversiveness of the story. One of the things I always bring up is I love the George A. Romero zombie trilogy. I know he did films after that, but they were my favorites, and the reason why was because they worked as both a horror but also as a social commentary. You can pick and choose what you wanted to look at them as, whether you wanted to be intellectual about it or whether you just wanted to have a nasty horror movie that genuinely scared you. So a lot of I've said this before, a lot of my work, especially in the future shock stuff, is trying to recreate that feeling you got at the end of the first Night of the Living Dead film, whenever the main character is shot And I thought there was there was a level of ambiguity over whether the sheriffs shot him because they were racist and he was black, or whether they genuinely believed he was a zombie. That level of ambiguity, and and I always thought that is really, really clever, because it has left you discomforted and completely, I mean, this guy was the hero of the film, and you obviously think the hero should survive, but the real life kick in the teeth is that, life doesn't have happy endings. So, that, and I don't know if you remember the Stephen King adaptation of The Mist with Thomas Jane in it.
The Stephen King adaptation of The Mist.
The Mist, yeah. So it was, it was an adaptation of his book, and
I do, yeah.
And it was Thomas Jane.
He's in the car, and all of a sudden.
Yeah. So spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it. There's a point at the end of the movie when Thomas Jane has escaped. They were all being, this mist has descended and there's creatures in the mist, and everybody was locked inside a supermarket. And it becomes a microcosm for human frailty and evil in a way. And so the surviving characters manage to get to a car and they're driving away. And they realize that they're not going to make it because that there's too many creatures in the mist, and they're about to get they're essentially going to their deaths. And so Thomas Jane's character opts to kill everybody in the car, commit suicide rather than face inevitable death, and they all shoot themselves with the exception of Thomas Jane, who sort of sees what he presumes is another creature coming through the mist, and as the mist parts, it's actually the US military on their way in to save them. So, it was an ending that came like a punch in the heart, and I remember thinking, that is ingenious. It subverted things so cleverly, and it was such an impactful sort of moment that I was like, that entire movie was, it was just a really, and a really good study of humanity in microcosm,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it's one of my actual favorite. Now that we're talking about horrors, dread strips is the original Devlin Waugh Swimming in Blood. Same reasons, claustrophobic environments, vampires, plague of vampirism. I think that sort of set the standard. You would later see it in 30 Days of Night, but I think Devlin Waugh Swimming in Blood is one of the greatest vampire tales ever told. So anyone listening, check it out. Devlin himself is just such a wonderfully, Oscar Wilde-esque sort of Faye type character, with he's just so wonderfully how would you say, camp and hilarious, and also a total badass. I just couldn't help but love him as a character,
Yeah, brilliant.
Sorry, Stephen, I have a tendency to waffle just in case.
You waffle away, mate.
Yeah, just in case you had just in case you hadn't noticed, I sort of go off on rambles randomly, random rambles. So anyway, let's bring it back to 2000 AD. So far you've done, what is it? I actually brought up your page earlier to have a look. On Albion, the comics database. You've done a couple of Future Shocks and Tharg's Thriller.
I've done a couple of Future Shocks, Tharg's Thriller. No, it wasn't. I've done a Time Twister. Time Twister Future Shock Thriller. And one other, but I can't remember.
So I've seen a lot of your commission work, and you've done a lot of judge related stuff for commissions. My big question is, I mean, do you think we're going to see you on Dread anytime in the near future? Because,
Mate, you know what? I've been asking myself the same question.
not to twist Tharg's arm,
know,
but...
I really don't know. It's difficult because I get no... Matt Smith is a man of few words.
Yeah, he is. He's very succinct.
You don't really get much feedback with regards to what you need to do, or I don't know. I've commented to him a couple of times. Oh, if there's a Judge Dredd chip, and I love to do a cover, but it's silence.
Yeah, Tharg is a very succinct guy. He gets to the point,
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, I think because as I said before, I like to throw in. I tend to throw in kitchen sink.
Yeah.
With regards to inking, etc. And I know with the Thriller, I pulled right back because sort of I knew it was going to be coloured, and he made a point in the email, and I think maybe he does generally, but being me sensitive and I think, he thinks my stuff's too heavy, and so I'm going to pull back. And he sort of comments on, it's going to be coloured, so leave it quite open. So I pulled back, and I think with the Thriller I did last time, I pulled back too much. It was all line art, and that's not really why. I'm not. It's just not my style, just doing lines. And I think my confidence is growing a little bit now with regards to inking for colour. So now I've been given another Thriller.
Nice.
That's what I'm working on at the moment. Which again is going to be coloured, so leave it quite open, Stephen. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know whether maybe he thinks that because it's going to be coloured, maybe he's not confident in my ability to ink for colour. I don't know. I'm just
right. It's okay to speculate, though.
We'll see. Yeah. I don't know.
What I would love to see you do is I would love to see you working on something Exorcist Judge related or an Anderson maybe. But also I would like to see a Dread horror story, because it used to be you would get I think horror is so interspersed with Dread's universe, with Necropolis, Dead Man, Judgment Day. There's so many big events. The Dark Judges. They all have a horror theme.
Yeah, that's all my favourite. City of Damned is another one. I love the whole werewolf series.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, I mean I'm saying that's my bag. It's the horror stuff. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's waiting for a script to come on. It's horror based. He's going to say Steve.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
but no, that'd be great. But then I also like the quieter scenes. I like working with faces, and I like working with expressions. And, maybe I'm not very good. I like it. Maybe I'm not very good at it. I don't know. So I don't know.
Well, I think you are very good at it. Not to blow smoke up your ass, Steve, but I think you're doing okay. Yeah, I think you're doing okay, man. I think your stuff's great. So, is there any characters outside of Dread, anything in particular that you'd really love to work on? And what is it that would sort of... you talked about your love of horror. Is there any characters that are horror related, or characters that you would like to drag into the horror genre and do something interesting with? I'm going to say one word to you. Swamp Thing is someone I could see you working on.
Yeah, do you know what? As I'm getting older, I think probably when I was thinking about joining comics in the 80s and late 80s, I was thinking about Marvel, DC.
Mm-hmm.
But as I get older, I think probably from a career move, I'd accept. But from a personal perspective, I don't know if it's... I just find it, hearing from other artists is so prescribed with regards to, what you do. And the beauty of 2000 AD is you get a lot more freedom.
Yes.
It's not too prescribed. And it depends on the writer to some degree, because as I said before, some are more prescriptive than others with regards to shots, etc. And I've been quite lucky in the fact that I've not really worked with any writers like that at the moment.
Yeah.
Everyone's been quite open and free and allowed me to sort of do what I want to do, and I've sent stuff to them and they've gone, yeah, love it, carry on.
Yep. So it's really allowed you to explore your passion.
But I can imagine working for Marvel. DC would be very different. It would be a lot more difficult, a lot more prescribed. And I remember reading the interview with Ian Gibson. drew the Millennium series.
Yes.
You see, and he hated every moment of it.
Really?
But partly for that reason. Yeah, well, partly because it suddenly went from I think it became fortnightly, didn't it? The Millennium series.
That's right. Yeah.
He saw it as a method for DC to cash in on their readers.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one was the fact that it was so prescribed for the characters he was drawing. He found it quite restrictive. And I can imagine that being the case, So with characters. So yeah, in theory that would be nice. I'd love to draw something, but in practice, I'm not so sure.
It's interesting. It's one of those things, I guess, with big companies. The bigger the company, I guess, maybe they're a bit more risk aversive, so they tend to want things that are. I don't know. It's hard to know because I'm saying that, but those companies both have taken big risks with the New 52 shake-up that DC attempted, which sort of I think it backfired in a way because they had to go back to the classic line with they had a younger version of Superman in the New 52 and all these big changes, and the fans just didn't really respond to it. So it's hard to know. I mean, I guess. What interests me about these companies is that they've got all these interesting sort of legacy characters, and I like to see things from a different perspective. For instance, some of my sort of favorite stuff from Marvel was the series that Jonathan Maberry did, and it was a horror series. It was it started off Punisher versus the Marvel Universe. And it was, this plague hits the Marvel Universe that turns all the heroes into sort of bloodthirsty cannibals. And the Punisher has sort of survived it, So I like stuff like that, stuff that, takes those characters and does sort of interesting and new things and sort of horrible things, because you like to see how, different characters operate in different frames. So, Age of Apocalypse.
Was that in the 90s?
Huh?
When was that published? In the 90s?
I think it was late 90s, early 2000s.
Right, okay.
Yeah, worth a look. Actually, it's really, really entertaining because, like I say, it's Marvel doing horror, and some of my favorite stuff, like the Marvel zombie stuff. It's them doing horror, and it takes your favorite characters and shows you what they would be like if they were horrible bloodthirsty zombies, for instance. And you're like, oh, that's great. So it's an interesting twist. I like all that sort of stuff. So DC and Marvel wouldn't necessarily tickle your fancy. What about a little horror miniseries, something creator owned? Working under an Image banner or something like that.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love a. I mean, I'd love to draw horror. I absolutely love to draw horror. So it certainly appeal.
Yeah, that's much more like it.
Something psychological, something dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of an area that you seem to be comfortable in, having looked at your previous work. So, what sort of stuff outside of comic books and stuff like that? What other sources do you use for inspiration? Is there any sort of TV shows, music, movies? Is there anything in particular that you're into? You dig into whenever you're sitting down to draw? I know some people listen to podcasts or listen to music, and last time I was talking to Glenn, he has to have like shit TV on in the background. So
it's true though. It's true. I listen to. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm penciling, if I'm coming up with ideas and need lots of energy, I would listen to music.
Yeah.
Which vary from Tool to and Led Zeppelin to Tool, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I'm inking, I find it distracting, and I need something that's a little bit more middle of the road. And sometimes it's podcasts. Something that's not going to distract me. And sometimes it's just some really sort of I don't know, or an audio book. Last what I read, Boy on the Bridge.
Boy on the Bridge. Mike R. Curry. He's actually he's a nice bloke, Mike. He's a very nice bloke. I'm friends with him on Facebook. He's one of my favorite authors.
Yeah,
And
good, man.
he's a good bloke. Me and him have occasional arguments on the internet, just like
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you know, most people, most creators on the internet know me as a guy who will kind of argue with them about stuff. It's because I'm a bit of a contrarian, and sometimes people will stick up a post and I'll say, yeah, let's throw a bit of, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say controversy, but you know, I like to come at it from a different angle and see what way people jump. It sounds a bit sadistic, but you know. So Mike knows me primarily from getting into arguments with him on the internet, but he is an absolutely lovely man and just one of my favorite writers of all time. Boy in the Bridge, what a book! Brilliant.
That's a great book. It's a great book, and the one previous was awesome as well.
The Girl with All the Gifts.
Totally gone down my head. Girl with All the Gifts. Yeah.
Well, have you?
I actually read Girl with All the Gifts. But yeah, I've been listening to the audiobook of the Boy on the Bridge. Well, I had
Smashing.
this finished.
Smashing.
No, it's great. Yeah, really good.
Have you read any of his?
And also, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, have you read any of his Felix Castor books?
No, you see, I haven't actually.
You'd love him.
Baden was recommended. I've been doing some stuff with Baden.
Oh, Baden, James Maloney. He's a lovely guy, yeah.
Yeah, really nice fella. And he was recommended because he knows him as well, I think.
Yeah.
And he recommended that, but I haven't listened to it yet, or I haven't read it yet.
Well, you'll love it. Felix Castor. It's, you know, very sort of Hellblazer styled.
Yeah.
You know, so Hellblazer is my favorite. It's probably my favorite title of all time. I just, you know, I think Hellblazer is as good as you know, horror comics ever really got for me. I've got the entire original run, you know, but Mike Carey, huh?
I said, have you nice?
Oh yeah. Mike Carey, he wrote a good chunk of them. I think it was after Warren Ellis and Brian Azzarello, and he wrote a good chunk of them. And he then went off to do his Castor novels, and you can sort of see why he was such a good choice for Hellblazer, based on the work that he does on Castor, you know. But yeah. So, do you think the reason that you whenever you're penciling, you like music, it's because it allows you to move into that sort of creative zone, whereas whenever you're inking, it is more of it's less of a creative process and more of a detailed process, and you can afford to allow yourself to sort of, you know, take in other information while you're sort of putting the fine details into the inks.
I would say, for me, penciling is more energetic and inking is more med. That's how I describe it.
Yeah.
So if I'm penciling, my process, what my process is now, which works for me really well, is to pencil. I pencil really small. So my initial roughs are like E5.
Oh, okay.
And then what I do is, what I used to do was work at A5 and then try and replicate the A5 up to A3, sort of the size you generally work at, to A4s essentially. But I found that doing that, you lose a lot of the energy.
Yeah, sure.
In the initial instance on the A5. What I do now is I work at A5 and really sort of, you know, energetically, and I scan them into Photoshop, and I blow them up to A3 and print them off, and then lightbox from there.
Okay.
And final pencils, which is still quite energetic, but I've got the energy and the original pencils that I've done to work from. So you still maintain energy when you're lightboxing them, if that makes sense.
Sure, I gotcha.
And then you sort of tighten from there, and then you ink. So for the whole penciling process, for me, it's quite sketchy, quite energetic. So I like energetic music, but then when I get into the inking, it becomes more meditative. I need to calm down, I need to slow down.
Yes.
I'm quite erratic, I'm quite lively, and so I need something that's not going to distract me, you know. So I like
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah. That's quite interesting.
That's why. So yeah, so that's the sense there. For me, it's about energy and about action and. It's more meditative. Yeah.
It's quite interesting because I can see a lot of parallels in my own creative process. I find whenever I'm doing my one of the jobs that I do, not remotely creatively related, but one of my bill-paying jobs is whenever I'm doing stuff online, and I like to listen to podcasts as I'm doing that. But whenever I'm writing, I like to have music because it allows me to enter into, you hear sort of creatives talking about it, flow state. And it's whenever I'm in flow state, I find that I'm not sort of hung up on sort of semantics and things like that. I just sort of, everything sort of just comes out very naturally, and then I can come back the next day, have a look at it, edit it down before I put the music back on again, and then I'll put the music on and I enter into flow state. So it sounds very wanky, but it is actually very effective,
Yeah, that's interesting actually, 'cause you would assume that, for me, drawing's more, I don't know, maybe not, maybe just as an artist you would assume that, but drawing's more of an automatic, skill, action, whatever.
Yeah.
So music would, it is a background because you're not, it's not you, but maybe it's words, when you're trying to me, in my head, I would assume that trying to write when you've got words or music in the words and music in the background would be quite distracting. Obviously.
Oh yeah, totally. So what are you reading anything at the minute specifically that you're enjoying in comics, or you'd mentioned that you were listening to the audiobook of The Boy on the Bridge. Is there any comic books that you've been checking out recently? Now I know we'd mentioned I'd been talking to you about Infidel. You said you'd had a read of it.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I finished Infidel. That was excellent.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I finished it. It was really good. I loved his art, man.
Oh yeah, it was great.
On Facebook, it was incredible. See, this is where I struggle because I bounce from. I love Bolland, for example's clean lines, but I love the sketchiest stuff, and it's just trying to, 1 minute I'm trying to draw really, tight, but then I sort of I digress into a sketchier. Even when I'm inking, I digress. And then I start thinking, it's a little bit sketchy, a little bit,
Yeah.
It's a struggle for me. It's not going to struggle. I start with the intention of being clean, and I end up with the result being dirty.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds a lot like my life, Steve. I start off with the intention of being clean, mate, but the result always ends up so dirty, It's my life in a nutshell. Oh, man. Oh. It's good stuff.
It's lovely. It's really, really good. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. Great story. Yeah,
The Infidel. Yeah.
My listeners, check it out. Yeah, if you like a bit of horror, psychological horror.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Again, it's. I mean, politically, and it's not as subtle as some of the things you mentioned earlier, but it's a great. Yeah, it's a great read.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I also was reading, and I'm actually just catching up on it now. Unfollow Rob Williams.
Oh yeah, Rob Williams. Yeah. Well, it's been getting good reviews. I haven't read it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good, man. I really enjoyed it. I get lots of comicsology now, so it's just more practical. But no, I really enjoyed it. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Okay. Unfollow.
Finished volume 1, and I'm on to volume 2 now. So I bought the original comics and never read them. Ironically, I bought the original comics, intended reading them, put them in my box, never went back to them. I thought, fuck it, do you know what? I'm just going to download digital version. So I did that and read volume 1.
Stephen, that's how they get you, man. That's how they get you. For me, it was the opposite. I thought, I'm not going to, accumulate any more comics. I sold off large parts of my comic collection. And I thought, right. So I had like over 20 long boxes, and I got them down to about 8. And I thought, well, that's it. I'm not accumulating any more comics. So what ended up happening was I started getting stuff off Comixology. But I found that, my preferred way to read was to read in physical copies.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, I had sold stuff that I had then rebought on Comixology that I found I couldn't enjoy on Comixology, and then I ended up rebuying it again in physical print. So they got me 3 times. Every time, man, I am a sucker. I am a total sucker, and I love nothing more than making comic book companies rich by buying their product about 3 or 4 times. So, oh God. Hopefully someday in the future people will be doing that with my books. Fingers crossed.
I've rebought a load of stuff because I'm the same in the 80s. I had loads of boxes of them and I sold them all. For whatever reason, they were sitting there and I was losing interest. And then we had Lucas, my older boy, he's now 8. And I thought, you know what? I went and this and that. So I was saying, I rebought loads. I've got now four boxes, which doesn't sound a lot, but there's 4 boxes of stuff that I'm not getting again. And it's really for Lucas. And I thought, Spider-Man, he fucking hates Spider-Man.
He hates Spider-Man?
And it's more to... Spider-Man.
Blasphemy.
He loves Batman.
Blasphemy. I love Batman too, but I love Spider-Man.
Yeah, I used to love Spider-Man in the 80s as well.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I've got boxes in my studio now. I've got a studio at the end of the garden shed.
Nice.
It's a 12-bed shed, which I renovate now. It's very cool, man. I was in a room in the house, and they said we've got a small it's not really, but it's slightly bigger than the box room. It's a 3-bedroom house we live in.
Yeah.
Me and my missus got a room, and then Luke had a room, and then we had Max 2 years ago, who's our youngest. And he's at the age now where he needs his own room, so I said to Maria that I renovate the shed.
Yeah.
So we've been insulated and boarded up the shed. It's a 12-bay shed, man.
Yeah.
And it's very cool. And this is my studio. This is where I live.
Oh, mate, there's nothing better.
Yeah, it's boxes are piled up. I've got 4 or 5 boxes in here of comics for Lucas. One of which is not interested in at all.
So hold on, you are getting them into comics though. You're doing the good fatherly thing, and you're getting the next gen into comics here. Yeah,
absolutely. He's into Face Ache at the moment. I've got the hardback, the Face Ache compilation.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah. So he's into Face Ache at the moment.
Well,
and he knows who Judge Dredd is. He knows obviously the Marvel stuff and the DC stuff. But yeah, at the moment it's in the Face Ache.
Do you know what? I have a theory, right? I actually have a theory, and you can stop me if I'm wrong. This is, if you disagree. But I have a theory that the most hardcore, ardent fans of stuff are people who were introduced to it by an older, more respected relative, right? So, say your dad introduces you to something cool whenever you're younger, whether it be, your favorite football team, or your favorite TV show, whatever it is, comic books. Yeah. You'll get into it, and then you'll probably get your kids into it. And in my case, I remember my uncle Paul introducing me. I always, he was, a cool, big influence in my life. And he introduced me to Aliens, right? And I remember, I was like,
The movie.
What?
The movie.
Oh, yeah. The movie. Yeah, and he said, you're going to love this, right? And I was like, I don't know. And then I watched it, and I was like, whoa, my world has changed, So, I became an ardent fan from, being able to have these conversations with him about James Cameron films and stuff like that. I got into comics myself, but, some of the stuff that I'm most fanboyish about, I guess, is stuff that I've been introduced to through older people that I've known and respected, and I find that it's that communal thread where you can go and talk to them about it. You have that thing in common. So what you're doing with the kids, I'm like, this is great, because I love to see it, because it's essentially creating the next generation of readers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that wasn't my case with my dad. I mean, I think you mentioned that you used to read Eagle, and I think I watched my first sort of scary movie with my dad. It was Jaws.
Great! What a movie! Oh my god! It's amazing.
That's one of my all-time favorites. Jaws, The Thing. I love it.
The Thing. The Thing is the original John Carpenter. Genius.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably top of my tree, I think, The Thing.
Yeah.
But I think I probably watched Jaws and The Thing more than any other movie.
Yeah, I definitely. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but with regards to comics, I didn't have an impetus. It was more my peers at school, I think. Jason, my best friend Jason Brooks.
Yeah.
We sort of went through it in school together. In fact, he introduced me to 2080, I think.
Oh, really?
And yeah. And we used to work with his dad on Portobello Road on the market stalls. He used to have a toiletry stall down there. And there was a comic stall just down the road.
Oh, sweet.
It was like £5 lunch money, which we wouldn't spend on lunch. We'd go to the comic stand.
Mate,
comics.
Stephen, I think we had parallel lives, mate. I think we had parallel lives, because this just sounds like my life. It sounds like I used to have money for lunch, and I remember I would spend it on comics, and then starve until I got home. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, it was. It's how you rolled back then, because comics used to be a lot cheaper, but still, if you wanted to. Get a couple of comics, it was going to cost you, in the range of a quid or two.
You can afford them.
Yeah. So one of the things I've actually started doing, and you're doing it with your kids, you've got a collection of comics for them, and one of the things I've started doing, because I find that it's quite difficult for kids to get into comics now, because they're quite dear. So one of the things,
there's nothing out there. Not really. Not generally.
Yeah, and it's expensive, man. So one of the things I do is whenever I'm finished, there's my neighbours, Nairi and Jerry. They've got two daughters called Ellen and Annie, and they're both into comics, and but they can't afford them. So whenever I'm finished with my stuff, if I'm not going to sell it on or keep it. Usually what I'll do is they're into DC stuff, so if I'm reading the DC miniseries, I'll just give it to them and they can have it, because the way I look at it is, I got to read it and enjoy it, and I'll probably buy the graphic novel if I really like it. But one of the more important things is to get the comics to kids who are then going to continue to read the comics, but they're the ones you want to be coming in the future and buying stuff from the industry. So I think it's massively, this is just my little soapbox, where I think it's massively important for kids to be reading comics, especially in libraries and stuff like that. So I mean, I hope that in the future comics become a little bit cheaper for kids to buy and a bit more accessible, because I don't want the current generation not to be able to have that wonderful experience that I had going into the newsagents whenever I was a kid, and finding a copy of 2000 AD, or the Dark Horse Aliens reprints, or the Marvel sort of collections where they'd reprinted all that cool stuff from the sort of 70s and 80s,
Yeah, absolutely. It's important as well that we got a comic shop. We're in Cambridge. We're just outside of Cambridge.
Oh yeah.
And we've got a Forbidden Planet in Cambridge.
Oh, nice.
And it's great taking him there as well. We absolutely loved it. And again, it's just the whole. You know what the score is with the the whole environment, the whole vibe, comic shop, you know, just
great.
surrounded all this. It's just great, and we're quite lucky where we are. I mean, everybody else seems to be. I'd say everybody else. A lot of the families around here seem to be quite aware of the fact that you know they want the kids to get into comics.
Yeah, because it's a good way to get into reading.
Phoenix. Yeah. A lot of them read Phoenix, and I do every year. I do like a comic session at the primary school.
Great.
Well, I go down there.
Mate, you total legend.
I provide a couple of scripts, and we work from the scripts. And by the end of the day, the kids love it. It's just so ingrained. It really sort of I realise it's so ingrained in them.
Yeah.
And sort of to draw comics, per se.
Well,
they love it.
It's something we talked about earlier, mate, and that is that for us, because we were pre-internet generation, comics seemed massively inaccessible, but the fact that it's become so mainstream now, and like you've got guys like yourself who are willing to go down to a school and do a comic session, and there's ways for them to see an entry point. So they can actually go, oh well, here's my friend's dad or whatever, and he's in comics, and I can talk to him, and he'll give me tips. I remember when we were younger, we definitely I didn't know anyone who was working in comics at all.
Absolutely, that's what I was saying to you earlier. It's the same with me. I had no idea how to get into comics, no idea at all. I got a couple of people that I am. Young guys, I haven't seen it for a while, but they used to come up, and they're sort of into illustration, and they're sort of they're 15, 16, going to go to college, and then sort of considering doing illustration, and they want to get into comics. I've had them around here, and I've shown them stuff and spoke to them about how to get into the industry, and about submitting and blah blah blah. And it's been, for them, it's been really useful because they didn't get any of that information at college or at school or any through any formal channels.
Well, isn't it strange that I've got a friend, Peter Duncan. He's one of the editors at Sector 13, but he publishes his own stuff. Splank and Cthulhu Kids, they're sort of kids comics. They're beautifully drawn, and in Cthulhu Kids' case, I think it's painted. It's just gorgeous. Just came out recently, and he maintains that there's still a stigma about comics, even though they've become sort of more widely accepted in modernity. He maintains that from his parents' generation, you had the whole Frederick Wortham seduction of the innocent line that comics were corrupting the youth, and that they were nothing but sort of this frivolous waste of time and stuff like that. And I think for a lot of people, comic books was considered a taboo waste of time, and not at all remotely a viable pastime, not something that you could do a job at, and that to try and get into comic books was just you were really throwing your life away if you decided to do this. So I think it's only now that it's becoming a bit more socially acceptable to say, oh yeah, I want to be a comic book creator, I want to work in publishing,
Yeah. I think maybe it's also to do with the fact that now you have more accessibility to artists and the creation of comic books. YouTube or whatever else, whatever you're following Jim Lee or whoever. You have more accessibility into how comics created and what goes into it, etc., etc., etc. And whereas before it was you didn't know. You didn't understand how it was created, you didn't understand what went into it, etc.
Yeah, totally.
So it's accessibility into the creative process.
Well, that's true, because now you can actually you can see someone actually doing the work in front of you, and it's not some sort of half-cocked idea of what you think it is. You can actually just watch it. Funny story about Jim Lee.
You can see the effort that goes into it.
Well, yeah, totally. totally. Especially in terms of the art and stuff, it's massive. You know, there's so much.
Yeah.
It's so intricate.
It's seen as a lower art form. You know?
Yeah, it did. It did. Whereas I think it's an absolute. I think it's one of the highest art forms, especially the art end of comics.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, no, funny story about Jim Lee to slightly diverge. Glenn said that everywhere he goes, he's got a big, massively tall. I think it's his lawyer. And Jim Lee does not make a single deal without this lawyer in the room, and that's why.
Really?
Oh yeah. Apparently, this guy is like, you know, he's like a total shark, and he makes sure that Jim gets, top royalty, whatever project he's working on. That's why he's so high ranking, because he's got this really good representation. And I remember Glenn telling me this, because, you know, creative people, typically you'll hear a lot of horror stories, like, you know, creatives who've been cut out of, you know, deals, or they've been shafted on character rights, or they don't own their original artwork anymore, and things like this. You know, Alan Moore's the typical example. And I remember Glenn telling me that, and I was thinking, I gotta get myself a big Jim Lee 7-foot agent to follow me around so I don't get stiffed.
They get mugged in the street.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this guy's got your back. You know, because I'm shit at bargaining. Like, you know, I mean, I know my brother James he's amazing at it. He's a real shark. You know, whereas, you know.
This is one of the problems with being an artist.
Yeah.
It's the business side. I'm saying, there's so many artists who just don't have a clue about the business side. And I was lucky in the sense that, I suppose I do use it to some degree, or I have an understanding. But my job previous to what I'm doing now, the job that I fucking hated, I left to do this, was a business manager.
Really?
And so, yeah. Because I progressed literally from being into fitness, personal training, to management, managing a fitness centre in London. And then we moved to Cambridge. And I needed to get work in Cambridge. I was still commuting into London, King's Cross, from Cambridge to work.
Soul destroying?
It was soul destroying, and it was also expensive. It was like £4,000 a year, train fares. And so I took up a job as a business manager, and the reason I got a job as a business manager at the local school, which is where I met Brian Bolland, was because the largest part of the business was the college sports centre, which they wanted to make more accessible to the public. So when I got there, I think they were in $20,000 deficit. So I turned it around. I was there for three and a half years.
Wow.
Turned it around, but obviously, sort of coming out of that, you have more of an understanding of marketing yourself, promoting yourself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So really, I've managed to carry a lot of that through with me into my art. Going freelance, going on my own.
Man, I gotta, we gotta talk more about this. Maybe I need you to represent me whenever I'm trying to get stuff out there. Maybe you need to have my back, Stephen. It's fascinating. It's always interesting when you hear what people used to be. My previous job, I was a manager for an online retailer, and then I worked for a charity before that. And before that, I worked in human resources, and all three of those jobs killed a little bit of me. A little part of my soul was sacrificed, and I'll always remember Joe Rogan saying that he said that whenever he used to work, in what you would class as sort of a normal profession, I think he worked in construction and stuff like that. He said it was like going to work and being injected with radioactive material. You felt like it was killing you. And that is how
every day chips away, and that's absolutely. And to the point where you get to a point where you just don't care anymore, and then you realise you're in totally the wrong job because it's like, okay, fuck.
Oh yeah.
As a business manager, it's like you know what? Let me just have a pee. I need to pee.
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah, take your time.
All right. All right. Okay, mate.
See you in a mo. Yes, I can hear you. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, sorry, mate.
Yeah, the lizard is drained.
Luckily, I've got a tree just outside of my shed.
Oh, mate, nice, yeah. You can feel like you're being more ecological or something when you're doing it. Every time I'm around, I wouldn't drink a lot, but a friend of mine runs a brewery, and he comes down about once a fortnight, once every 3 weeks, and he always brings a keg with him. We go around.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and we go around to my friend Dick's house, and because the toilet is up 2 flights of stairs, we inevitably just go out and pee on the shrubbery in the back garden. And for some reason, I always feel more ecological about it. Like I'm saving water, or I'm giving back to the plants or something. Or maybe it's just because I'm drunk.
I bet those shrubs look better, mate.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. Think of all those vitamins that are going back into it. It's definitely a positive thing,
Vitamin P.
Yeah, we shouldn't feel bad about peeing outside, man. This whole you shouldn't be peeing outside stuff. It's natural, natural. The most unnatural things is living in big walled cities. That's unnatural,
Exactly. I live in the country.
Oh, you're in the country? Oh, man, you're loving it. You're even better.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, absolutely. So what was I saying? I was saying, so that was for me, the realisation, the fact that I just I'm in the wrong fucking job, was when I met Brian Bolland for the first time, which was at the village college that I was working at.
Yeah.
And literally, I sort of met Brian Bolland for the first time. Do you know the story? I've said it before.
You've told me, but tell it again, because obviously our listeners won't have heard this story, and everybody loves a good Brian Bolland story. So shoot, Steve. Let's hear it.
Well, I was working so I was business manager at Village College, near where I live. Sorry. And I've been working there for two and a half years. 3 years, and I just had enough, mate. I was just getting to the point where it's just like, I've got to get out of here. And, as I said before, sort of considering the fact that, I hated the job, I was stressed out.
Making you miserable?
I wanted to tell my boy that as he gets older, that he can do whatever he wants and work where he wants, do what he wants to be. And not really being able to do that with straight face, because I was in a job that I fucking hated, and sort of thinking I can't do this for another 10 years, and weighing up my options. And I was sort of considering storyboarding, because storyboard is quite good money. And I started to get into that, and I sort of toyed around with the idea of comics, and I thought, I'm too old. Now I was 40 then. I think it was probably 41, 42. And this place, I mean, just bear in mind, this for me was synchronicity. I mean, this place in the arse end of nowhere. I mean, it's literally just little village college. And one Christmas I was working, and I was on a desk covering at the sports centre, covering reception. And I was in conversation with the badminton club we're in. I was in conversation with the member of the badminton club. And he mentioned one of the members and said to me, you would believe he's kind of famous. And I said, what do you mean famous? What's he doing? He said, he's a cartoonist. I was like, really? I said, what do you mean cartoonist? Because he draws comics, so this piqued my interest. And I asked what he drew, and he said, I think he's done Batman. I was like, really? I said, who is it? And he said, Brian Bolland, and I nearly fell over. So, I introduced myself to Brian, and it got on quite well, and he come in every week and critique my work. And going back to what I was saying before, the impetus, what really made me think fucking knowledge isn't for me, was that I told the principal of the school, in one of my meetings, I met Brian Bolland, and she said to me, which makes total sense, I'm the business manager, but she said to me, there might be a great business opportunity there. And I said, a fucking business opportunity, it's Brian Bolland. It's just like, I'm an artist. It's a fucking Brian Bolland. I idolized him for years, and that was it for me. It was just like it was just a total it just made me think, this isn't for me, man. Fucking hell, this isn't about business.
You had,
for me.
you had an epiphany.
There, it was just like, I met Brian Bolland, and and I, at the time, as I said, it made total sense that she would consider it that way. She, I'm employed by her, and she's my principal. I'm the business manager. But for me, it was about the fucking art.
Yes.
And that was it. And I think on that day of that meeting, I thought, fuck this. I need to get the fuck out of here, man.
Getting out of here.
And I need to make a move. Yeah. That was the impetus. That was
respect. Right. I had a similar. My epiphany came from it was actually my uncle. I've told the story before, but it was I was working in human resources and fucking hating my life. And I was out on my lunch break, which was like about half hour, and it took me about 15 minutes queuing to get my sandwich, And I was heading back in, totally broken down and dejected in my suit and tie, And I ran into my uncle in the street, my Uncle Paul, who got me into Aliens. And I could hear someone shouting, "Hoi! Hoi, ugly! Ugly!" And I was like, who the fuck? And I turned around, it was him. I was thinking, obviously, who is he talking about? I am the epitome of beauty. Who would dare, he was absolutely talking to me. But but anyway, I was like, so I turned around, and it was my Uncle Paul, and he said, what are you doing? What are you up to? And I said, I'm going back to work. And we got talking, and he said, well, do you like your job? And I was like, no, I fucking hate it. And he went, do you need to do it? And I was like, well, sort of. And he said, what for? And I went, well, I've got to pay the rent, I've got bills to pay, etc., etc. And he said, well, do you think, you could do something, else and get by without it and do what you actually want? And I was like, maybe, and I hemmed and hawed, and he went, fuck it, go in and quit. He said, just go and fucking quit. He said, why are you prostituting yourself to the man? And I was like, And, I sort of, he said, come on, let's go and quit. And anyway, I backed out of it. But I went upstairs and I thought, what the fuck am I doing? I hate this shit. It's sucking the fucking soul out of me. And so, I made the impractical decision of quitting, getting part-time stuff. And I wrote my first novel then. And, I just needed to kick up the arse. The comic thing for me was actually running into Glenn Fabry in a pub. And he was at the bar, or no, he was outside, and he had a T-shirt on, and it was his picture of the Juggernaut, and I said, "Nice T-shirt, mate." Yeah, I said, "Nice T-shirt, mate," and he went, "Oh, thanks, I drew it." And I went, "What?" Because there was a Glenn Fabry signature on it, and I went, "What?" And he went, "I'm Glenn Fabry," and he extended his hand, and I said, holy fuck. So anyway, we ended up going in, had a few drinks, and I was like, I've been writing prose and stuff, but I'd love to do comics. I've been obsessed with comics my entire life, and I've written this Future Shock, and he went, "I will draw your Future Shock for you," but he had too much to drink, so he was talking shit. So the next time I saw him, he was in a loft drinking a fucking 6-pack of Scrumpy Jacks and doing a cover for fucking Dark Horse. It was one of the Dark Horse horror anthologies, and I said, so I brought the Future Shock round, I printed it out, and he went, "Listen, I'd had a bit to drink, and I can't actually do it, but Ryan Brown might do it." And I went, "Oh, who's Ryan Brown then?" And then it turned out I knew Ryan from years ago, and he didn't fucking do it either, but that started the ball rolling. That started the ball rolling, and we were at least in the right direction then, and that's how I ended up, trying to get work in comics, so.
Yeah. What relief though, man. When you first do it, I mean, for me, it's just like the minute I handed in my notice, it's just the weight was off my shoulder. I mean, the fact I knew I only had 4 weeks left, which is like, it's incredible. But yeah, it's the best thing I've done, mate. I mean, just for anyone out there who's considering, well, anyway, that is from doing it. I mean, if you've got a chance of actually making it and you're really good, and you've got that passion and that drive, and you just yearn to do it, which I think is what you need to be doing. It shouldn't be like maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. You need to be yearning to do it. For me, I mean, I'm financially, I'm far worse off now than I was then.
Big time.
I've gone from working from earning 32k a year to I don't know what, but it's certainly not 32k a year.
Oh, mate, preach.
Mentally, I am 1,000% in a better place than I was. Because I'm doing love. But it's a struggle. But I work part time, same as you. I don't have enough work coming in to pay the rent and pay the bills and support 2 kids, and it's just not feasible. I can't do it on what I earn. Storyboard work pays well when it's there. The comic work doesn't pay well even when it is there. I love it. But that's as I said to you before, whether I was working or not, I'd always draw. Whether I was doing it as a profession or not, I'd always draw. So I work a couple of nights in the local car park where I can sit and draw all night. It doesn't interfere in what I'm doing. I sleep very little anyway. I sleep 4 hours a night. Regardless, I sit up until 2 or 3 in the morning drawing. My most productive time is probably between 10 and 3 in the morning. But you do what you do. You do what you do to survive. Psychologically, it's what I need to be doing. I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. And in these times, whenever there's more mental health issues than ever, I think it's important that people are able to isolate what it is that they feel they should be doing and trying to do it, and that's not to say, just quit what you're doing right now and pursue the dream. You have to be realistic as well, because it's fucking hard, and
and if you're shit, don't doing it. I mean, really. I mean, if you have to be realistic, and you have to be honest. With yourself as well. I mean, if you've got, I know. I don't know whether people always say you're talented or I'm talented, or but you don't really know till you try it, I suppose, to a degree. But before I got my job, I was testing the water in first job submitted to 2000 AD, so I was getting feedback from them. Then I was also doing storyboard work, so I was getting feedback from them. I was doing small press stuff, so I was getting feedback from them. I certainly wasn't doing anything and then just jumped into it and going, I'm going to try now. I was testing the water long before I gave up the career. I wasn't going to give up the career to end up with nothing.
Totally.
So I sort of worked it back. I was working full time. But it's hard, this is where you test yourself. This is where the passion comes into it, because I'm working 9 to, well, not even 9 to 5, 8 till 7. And then I'm coming home and I'm working from, I'd spend time with not really spend much time with the kids, going to go to bed at 7. But then I'm sort of, spending a bit of time with the missus, and, then in the evening I'm working, I'm doing the artwork, I'm doing stuff, small press, etc., to improve. So literally, I was working harder then than I am now, for less, because it's all for free. Improving all the time because I was drawing all the time. So I was literally coming around from my day job, and I was working through the night to get stuff done for whatever small press publication I was doing, or storyboard work I was doing. Storyboard work, some was paid for, some wasn't, some was for free, just to get the experience. I was improving all the time, and it was for the bigger picture, with the intention of leaving the full-time job. But if you can't do that, if you're not prepared to do that...
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the thing you do. You mentioned it just previously there, and that is that you need to see where you're at in terms of what your level of skill is. If, as you say, if you're starting fresh off the boat, you've never drawn anything before, and you have to develop. If you've got a predisposition towards something, it's like anything. You've got to develop that skill. It's like, say you're a runner, and you feel that you might be good at running, and you've done a couple of runs and you were okay, but you feel like you've got real potential. Well, you can't just run a marathon. You have to build up to it. That's the same.
Right.
That's the same with art. It's the same with writing. You have to. You can't just go right. Fuck it. So
you have to also recognise your potential, because I mean, if you're a runner and you're training over a period of 2 or 3 months and there's no improvement in your ability over 2 or 3 months, perhaps you're not really supposed to be a runner. And it's the same with the artwork. You sit there, and if you're drawing 24/7 and you're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and really you're not making any ground, you're not improving. And I find this. I mean, people talk about talent. I don't know what talent is. Is talent the ability to, I question the same thing, is it ability, if you've got a great visual memory to draw stuff that you see and you can replicate it again and again, and over time you build up a library of images, or is talent the ability to just keep improving and keep training your style, improving your style? I don't know. I know a lot of artists who seem to get to a point and don't go beyond the point. Is that the talent? Is talent being able to go beyond that point and keep improving and keep improving and keep improving? I don't know. But for me, it's been, I see constant improvements, and I mean, with regards to doing small press stuff, I find that every time I've done a small press job, I was sort of getting better and better and better. And then you sort of, for me, that was the grounds for sort of pursuing it, was the fact that actually maybe I'm quite good at it. But that's I mean, that for me is part of the process, is actually recognising whether or not you have the potential.
Oh, totally.
And I think to have the potential, you should see constant improvement if you're working on a regular basis on it. If you're not seeing the constant improvement, then, and you're at a point, and you're not at an industry point, a standard, that industry standard point, and you don't believe you're going to reach it, then maybe it's not for you. But I think you just have to be realistic with yourself as well. And recognise and be aware.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I started off, the first thing I did was I started off writing scripts for what I thought was going to be a TV pitch, and I was like, I'm gonna write these scripts, and I wrote them, and then I read them to my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, you're boring the shit out of me, right? So I was like, oh dear, that's not the reaction I was looking for. And she said, why don't you try writing it as a novel, And I went, I don't really know anything about writing novels, but I was reading James Crumley books at the time. He's this great sort of 1970s private dick writer, and I really liked his stuff. So as you do, you sort of start to emulate the people whose style you like, So I started writing my novel, and I look back at it now, and it was overly wordy, big, lengthy diatribes, constantly, spewed. The plot wasn't that tight, there was a lot of problems with it, but I look back at it and I go, oh, well, I can see what was good about it, but I can also see all the shit and how it was bad, and how there was issues with it. So I wrote, 2 more novels, and then I worked on a website for about 2 years, running it as I was sort of like the EIC of sorts, and then I got into writing again, and I constantly looked to get my stuff critiqued. I got people who were writers to look at it. I spoke to famous writers whenever they were doing workshops in libraries and things like that. I would go and talk to them, and they would critique my work. And the important thing is that whenever someone tells you that you've got potential, but there's a lot of shit that you've got to work on, you got to listen to them, especially if they're good. You got to listen, and that's the thing. I think there's a lot of unrealistic expectations that you run into sometimes, and it's people who are like, they don't want to hear criticism. They don't want to hear that they're shit. They just want you to go, oh, this is wonderful, blow more smoke up my ass. Darling, this is darling, this is just fabulous. And the thing is, people, because of social media now, you've got all your friends who'll go and look at, your painting, or your piece of art, or your piece of prose, and they'll look at it and they'll go, oh yeah, that was great, that was really good. Don't fucking trust them.
It's a blessing and a curse, social media. I listened to your interview with Ryan Band, it's totally right. It's great to get stuff out there on social media.
Yep.
And you have access to so many more people, and you need to. I mean, you can't rely on your family or friends to critique your work, because you see some shit on social media. I see some shit on social media. Oh, it's amazing. Oh, you're so talented. Oh, it's great. You look at it and think, actually, shit.
It's shit.
It's shit. It is shit. By industry standards, it's shit. I don't think that harsh. Well, I kind of do mean it harshly, but you need a reality check. You need to kick up the arse. You need somebody to tell you it's shit. And there's no point in somebody saying, actually, it's not very good, and all your family and friends jumped in going, what are you talking about? It's that fucking X Factor, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
You really can't sing. I've been fucking singing it for 3 years. It's fucking great.
I totally agree. You need some bastard. You need a Simon Cowell in your life who is just going to go, that's fucking crap.
Not explaining it, but you need somebody to be honest. You need people to be honest, and you need to be able to accept the honesty. You need to be able to accept people saying to it, actually, but there's obviously ways. I mean, I was lucky, I Brian Bolland, but it was sort of the same thing. Easy way to, he'd say, this is good, this is good. It's like a shit sandwich, you know what I mean? This is good, that's not so good. This is good, that's not so good. You take it on board. You do. You send something to 2080. You get it back. The first response I got was something along the lines of, "You're not ready."
Yeah, that was the same. And you know, if you actually get a response at all, you're doing well.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, don't you always get a response from the time? I think you do. I think you always send them out, don't you?
Yeah, not all the time. I think I pitched a few and I didn't get anything, and then I got
you can wait.
Yeah,
you can wait a year.
Oh yeah, and I got.
Wait.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Oh no, sorry. I sort of didn't catch your last bit there. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say I was waiting for anything from a month to a year to get a response.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right. And I got, I think the first 6 months I didn't get anything, and then maybe I got a one line, needs improvement type thing, and then it wasn't really until I think it was a year odd later when I started making a bit of headway, because I started collaborating with other artists, and I had indie work to show by this stage, and I was putting other things together. And that's important as well, to show that you've done other work with people. If you can show a script that you've already done, it'll jump off the slush pile faster than, just...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The one that got Matt Smith's attention was the one that I done for... Zarjazz.
Zarjazz.
It was with Mike Lynch. I wrote with Mike Lynch. I worked on Mike Lynch's story specifically with the intention of publishing Zarjazz and working as a double submission for 2008. And it was the Cows Arena story. Have you read that?
Yeah, I have. It's great.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
No worries.
And Mike's a great writer. He was a great writer.
Yeah, he's a great.
And it was... and that was it, and it was just something a bit different, I was sick, and that was about my fourth submission. I was sick of fucking these submission scripts, because it's just like you see it, everybody else drawing them. You guys, at the time I was going on 2080 forum, there's a page forum on there. You put your stuff up, everybody's doing the same scripts.
Yeah. It's great to have your own stuff.
It's just something and so he got published in Zarjazz, and that was the one that caught his attention. And then after that, he said, "Oh, I'd like to see more of your stuff." So I sent him the next one I'd done for Future Shock, which was Revolution 2110 or something like that. I can't remember the title. But that was the one that got me. He said, "Yeah, it's really good. I'll be in touch." I didn't hear anything for 6 months, and thought, you know what, I've been blown out.
Yeah.
I got a message through saying, "Do you want to do a Future Shock?" So that was my first one.
That's how it goes, man. It is. It's a very slow process, and I got my first one through because I was working with Adam at the time. I'd done work with Ryan. I had a load of stuff from Sector 13, and I started out, I was running a little site. It's still up. It's It was called The Dead Reserves, and it was my own idea, and I just wanted to write little 2-page stories that allowed me to showcase a bit of plot, but also, the artists involved could showcase that they'd worked with a writer. So if they wanted to submit stuff, they could go, oh, here's my work that I've done with a writer, And that was from advice I got from PJ Holden. And he said, you need to do
Oh, really, yeah?
Yeah, he said you need to do some small stuff, some small indie work. And show you've got stuff out there. And he said, why don't you start with 2-page stories? So I did, and it was very hard because you're having to whittle an entire plot into 2 pages. But I'd done all these wee bits and pieces, and then Adam showed some of it to Tharg, and he was like, oh, okay. So then I put together a script, and we approached him, and that's how we ended up doing it. Well, we've got an upcoming Future Shocks, so and then the other one, which I'm kind of hoping that Glenn's gonna start into whenever he comes back. Well, whenever he comes back from Detroit, supposedly that was what happened. There was I got a phone call in the middle of the night at 2:00 in the morning. And he went, you want to do a Future Shock for 2000 AD? I have found Matt Smith, and he has said yes. And I was just like, so I phoned him back the next day, and I was like, did he actually say yes, or what's going on? He went, yes, he said yes. I will draw it. And I went, okay. So I sent, just to treble check, I sent Matt Smith an email, and he said, I said, Glenn says we're doing a Future Shock. Is that okay? Is that all right? And he went, yeah, go on then. And I went, Fabry, you absolute legend. So anyway, I phoned him back, and he went, I told you I would come through. It only took me 2 years.
That's funny, man.
Oh yeah, I love him. He cracks me up. He helps me.
I mentioned to you earlier. I can't remember who made the quote. But I said to you earlier, the quote was, "You don't so much." It was a comic artist. He said, "I realised soon after into comics, you don't so much crash into the comic scene. You seep onto the comic scene."
Seep onto it. Oh, that's a great quote.
Yeah, you seep onto it.
Yeah, what a great quote. Yeah, man, that's and it couldn't be truer. It couldn't be truer. But it's also one of the things I've been talking to a lot of indie guys about recently. Guys like Peter Duncan, Stuart McCoon, who are doing really good work in the indie scene. These guys are putting out their own stuff on Kickstarter, and they are doing great. So there's like I talked to Peter Duncan on his own podcast about this. There is, the opportunity for young creators to go on and reach audience that way too, and so there's a wonderful array of outlets for you now.
So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at Pete Duncan. You've got Neon Skies as well.
Oh, Kieran Mark Antonio. Yeah, he put out Neon Skies. God, yeah. He busted. He
really fucking well. I mean, they went for, I can't remember what the initial, I think it was 4 or 5 grand they were looking for originally.
They were looking for about 4 or 5 grand, and I think they bust the 12 grand stretch goal.
About 12, I
mean, that is great. That is great. And Rogue Comics seem to be doing really well. So fair play to those guys. They've put in the work.
Yeah, they have a quality product.
Yeah.
I read it, but it looks great.
I saw the layouts. About a year and a bit ago, maybe longer, in Enniskillen. Kieran showed them to me, and I was like, "Fuck! How did he get that artist? That is good." So
I was chatting to Kieran.
Yeah.
I was chatting to Kieran, and it surprised me. I assumed it was because they had picked up a lot of support, just through marketing, etc. But it wasn't. The majority of the support they got was through Kickstarter. Through Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't about which is quite interesting.
Well, it is. It is interesting because there's definitely. I think it may have started out as a really niche outlet, but I think more people, and I include myself in this now, I go onto Kickstarter and I'll go, oh, that's a cool project. I would definitely back it.
Yeah.
So it's an option, especially for starving creatives. It's an option to go out there and put your stuff on there, and take a risk. If it works out, great. If not, and once again, it allows you to test the validity of your product. You can go out, put something up there, and if it looks really good, people will support it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what's the plan for Saturday afternoon, Stephen? What are you up to, or evening? Sorry, I should say. What are you going to do whenever you get off the podcast with me? A few more beers.
This evening now.
Yeah.
No, I won't drink a beer because I'm talking to you.
Oh, very civilized, mate. Very civilized.
Yeah.
I was
No, I'm having a quiet one today. I've got so much to do, mate. I've still got 2 commissions to finish for Saturday. I've got the rush done for my next story for 2008. I've just got shitloads to do, mate.
Oh, man.
I'm getting one of the commissions to get it done.
Yeah.
And my intention is on Monday to get cracking on with the thriller, my next thriller, 2000 AD.
Can't wait.
So I'll just I've had about 8 beers sitting there talking to you, mate.
Have you?
Yeah.
Mate, if it was me,
then I had 2 while I was waiting for us to get back on because Skype.
Oh yeah, because we had all that bother, the tech bother.
Yeah.
Mate, fair play to you. You must have an iron bladder. If I had 8 beers, I would have spent the majority of the podcast in the toilet.
Do you know what? The tree outside my shed's growing by about 2 foot.
Yeah.
My last.
Oh my god. Well, here. Listen. I can't wait for the new strip coming out. Feel free to send me some sneaky pages so I can have a look. I'd love to see them. But I cannot wait, and I think the future has nothing but bright things to hold, man. Because having seen your stuff, especially some of the commissions you're putting out at the minute, the one that you did for our pal John Burtis over at Everything Comes Back to 2000 AD was absolutely amazing. If you haven't got a chance to see it, guys, it's Judges vs Stormtroopers from Star Wars. It's typically gory in Burtis's favorite fashion. Stormies getting their heads blown off, that sort of stuff. I highly recommend checking it out. You can follow you on Twitter. Your handle is, I'm just going to check it now.
It's at Austin1, I think.
Thank you, because I was looking for it. I was like, crap, I've closed the page. But you can follow you there. And you're on Instagram as well, presumably?
Yeah. Instagram, yeah. I just Stephen Austin.
Stephen Austin.
And then Facebook. Public as well.
Yeah, so bounce over and follow you because loads of options. Well, listen, Stephen, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll have to do this again sometime because I've had brilliant crack, but I gotta, like yourself, I've got a few things I gotta do here, so I'm gonna have to book. But listen, we'll do this again sometime, and until then, this has been Considering Comic Books with the wonderful Stephen Austin. If you have any comments, we would love to hear from you, and as always, and we will. I'm saying we will. It's like the royal we, I will see you next time on Considering Comics Books. I've been Mark McCann, and you've been
Stephen Austin.
Yeah. Take care, guys. All the best. Bye. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow me over at consider_comics on Twitter. That's consider_comics. And you can also check out some of my own work for publications such as 2000 AD, Comic House. And you can also check out stuff I've done with my friend and collaborator Ryan Brown over at ryanbrownart.com. That's where our own little creator-owned project called Esther the Relic can be found for free, so you can just read it for free. And I hope you enjoy it. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. All the best, guys.